Okay, I got to show you guys this because it is really detrimental in run form. It causes a lot of injuries and it slows you down. Hi everyone, Steve Gonzer, physical therapist here with Run Smart. I'm gonna jump over. Oh, I already have it up. I'm gonna go back to this screen. I'm a little hot mess today, but I want to talk to you guys about this piece in run form because what you're going to see in this runner is how most people run. It causes a lot of issues. It causes slower running. And it does what I call tap the brakes in run form. So let's figure out how to fix this. If you want our help fixing it, if you run like this, or if you just love to, if you would love to improve your run form, check out the link in this post. It goes to midfootproject.com. We start in April. We only run this program once a year. All the drills, exercises we use to help in training to help people improve their run form. So let's talk about tapping the brakes. So I want you to just envision this for a minute. You're driving your car down the road, and 160 times a minute you just tap the brakes. Imagine how jerky that would be, how inefficient that would be to moving forward. When the truth is, most runners actually run this way, and we're going to see in this runner. So if you ever looked at your race photo and it looks like am I walking? Am I running? What am I doing there? You run like this. So a lot of people don't know what they look like when they run. It's really important that you do at some point look at it because run form is huge from an injury standpoint and a speed standpoint. So let's take a look at this from a speed issue. We'll go back to where I started, and I want you to just watch this run. I'm going to play it at normal speed, and at first glance, you're going to look at something like this and be like, oh, it looks solid. It looks pretty good. He's pretty smooth. In this type of running environment. Let's slow it down a bit. This is half speed. And back when I started looking at run form, I definitely needed to slow it down. Now I'm one of those nerds that can, like, my wife yells at me in the car because I don't know if anyone else does this. So we'll be driving down the road and I'll check them out in my rear view. I'll watch them run by and I'll just look at their form, see if they're doing anything funny. So I do have a little bit more trained eye after doing this for 11 years. But what I want to show you is this fatal flaw that a lot of runners make. And from a tap the brake standpoint, let's just talk about that because if you look at this runner's right foot, it's his right foot, this one here. So he's going to be pushing off into the ground, obviously. He just stored up all this force. It traveled through his leg. It went down, pushed into the ground in the effort to propel him forward. So that line didn't come out the best, to propel him forward. The trouble is that when he pushes off, he's distributing all this force into the ground. He does what I just talked about. He taps the brake. So look at this front leg as he comes through. That leg goes straight. So I'm going to try to draw an angle on here. Who knows how this is going to end up coming out. But we're going to come down and we're going to look at this angle. And 180 would be perfectly straight. Let's line this up a little bit better. 180 be perfectly straight. I have seen runners go as far as 180, but he's pretty dang close. He's about 5 degrees off. So when the knee goes perfectly straight, it pretty much locks the knee in, right? So it's just like punching your two knuckles together. The knee gets there. But from a standpoint of speed, which is what I wanted to talk to you about before I get off on a tangent, because there's a lot of things to talk about here. All that force from here is now pushing and hitting the ground here. And when that knee goes straight, what happens is the ground pushes back against you and it pushes back just like this. This is not the straightest line, obviously, but you can see how that arrow is driving backwards. So he pushes off, he hits the ground, and because that foot's so out to the front, the knee is perfectly straight or close to it, it's a tap of the brakes. And then what we're going to find is he takes his next stride. He finally gets the momentum, gets pushed off again, pushes off, and you're going to see the same thing happen on that side. So back and forth, what runners do is they tap the brakes, restart, tap the brakes, restart. And it goes back to the car. Most runners take 80 steps a minute. And if you double that, I'm not a mathematician, but that's 160. And 160 times just tapping the brakes. And it causes a lot of issues on the speed standpoint. So what do you want to do? You want to learn to not necessarily change your foot position. That's a big misnomer. Back when we started this, we called it Midfoot Project. But it's really about finding your midfoot, but finding it on a soft knee. So let's look at the runner and just say, like, where should you land? And let's take a look at how that changes the entire game for a runner. So we'll come back. I'm going to just stop this. And let's just put him forward a couple of strides. Let's actually just take him here. So imagine for a second if this runner were to land here. He's not going to be getting this big drive backwards. And by the way, before I forget, if this looks like you, if you want to improve your run form, you want to get faster, you want to prevent injuries by tweaking your run form, check out the link in the post. Midfoot Project starts in April. Super excited to do it this year. We got a lot of cool things on tap. but there's a link in the post. So if we just look at what was happening before, we had this big push backwards from this runner, but now what's going to happen is things change a little bit. You can see that his knee is a little bit softer as he comes down. And what that does is it takes that force that we just talked about and it drives it up. So when that back leg, let's go back to the back leg, he pushes off, he's going to be able to carry that momentum into his stride. And he's not going to get this start-stop motion. So he pushes off. Right now, he's banging into his joints. But if he landed here, this force would come up and over the top, and it would prevent a maximum braking action. It would prevent him from, quote-unquote, tapping the brakes. So that's what you want to learn. That's what you want to teach. And that's not even talking about injury prevention. There's a ton of injury prevention just on this runner, which I'll talk about tomorrow. But from a speed standpoint, you can't go about that. And I think let's actually show you this. I'm going to go off tangent. I'm a little all over today, but gearing up for the 4x4x48 tomorrow. I don't know if anyone else is doing that craziness, but we're going to give it a shot. All right. So here's the other thing that I would like to challenge. I do this with my runners all the time. I challenge you guys to stand up in this position, foot out to the front, lift your back leg. This runner cannot stand up this way because his mass is back here. Let's move this around a little bit. His center of mass is back here. His contact point is up here. Anyone who stood up, tried to stand up in this format would fall backwards. And it just shows you that, like, from a mechanical standpoint, from a running standpoint, there's a massive stop motion right there. And you have to stop and restart. Stop and restart. Very inefficient. Go ahead and stand up, foot out to the front, lift your back leg. You're falling back. So let's fix this. Let's get working on it. There are some drills and exercises I'll be talking about all month. If you just want the full program, join us in early April. 5-week run form boot camp that's going to teach you how to fix these issues, a host of other issues. Can't wait to get started. But stop tapping the brakes. Super useful. More speed, more injury prevention. That's great. All right, everyone, have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. I'll check the questions in the comments and be back to you. And check out my video tomorrow. Bye, everyone.